City Club.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. We'd be pleased to have the attendance roll.
Ms. McKellen, Mr. Ranbecker,
Here.
Mr. Seeberger,
Right here.
Ms. Alder,
Here.
and Mr. Crowe.
Present. Okay. In terms of the agenda, I think we've agreed to change the order of what's being reviewed here today. And the tabled motion from the last meeting, 584-23, that amendment is going to be put, for the time being, is going to be put at the end of the business. And so we'll take care of new business first and then go back to unfinished business.
The motion, I move for the change in the agenda accordingly.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. We've got some people in attendance this evening, so I'm going to read a statement of duties and a procedure for conducting the meeting. The Plain Township Zoning Commission's duties include the following. Number one, make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees with regard to amendments to the zoning text and map. Number two, the zoning commission does not have to prove to the applicant why his or her land should not be rezoned, but rather the applicant must prove his or her case for the proposed change. Any amendment adopted by the trustees becomes effective 30 days from the date of such adoption unless a petition for referendum is filed within that 30-day period. Specific requirements for a petition, a referendum, are set forth in Chapter 519 of the Ohio Revised Code and Chapter 3501.38 of the Ohio Revised Code. Procedures for conducting meetings. Number one, hearings are recorded to maintain a permanent record. 2, all testimony is given under oath. 3, all speakers must sign in and identify themselves by giving their names and addresses before speaking each time they speak. Speakers are to only address the board and must provide factual evidence. Conversation between the speaker and others in the audience is not tolerated. The applicant speaks first and presents his or her request. Next, anyone in favor may speak. Then anyone in opposition may speak. If you express a group's viewpoint, like a large number, like if you were all here for the same thing, we would appreciate it if you could appoint a spokesperson to express the group's viewpoint. The board members will vote and reach a verdict, and their decision will be announced. Should an additional hearing be necessary due to a contingent or postponement, the amendment will be rescheduled for the next available meeting date, and no additional notice will be provided. I will then ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. We'll now move on to new business under Amendment 585-23, Grant Giltz. Is the applicant here, our authorized representative?
Yes.
Please take the podium.
We have that.
We can share this.
It's a blown up version of what I think I've submitted. That way it's just a little bit easier to, discern.
Yeah.
So hi, Grant Giltz, One Easton Company, 4835 Munson Street, Canton, Ohio, 44718. I'm here on behalf of One Easton Company for the rezoning of a house on Middle Branch Road from resident R1 to a B2. And earlier in the year, we had bought the house for parking for the amphitheater. And in doing so, we started doing the demolition on the inside of the house, getting it ready. There was a lot of clutter and things like that in the house that needed to come out before the trucks rolled in. And we actually found out that the house had some nice bones to it. Real nice old floor, nice hardwood floor on the second floor. And nice little fireplace that we started peeling off the layers of it, and lo and behold, there's all these Belgian brick fireplace right in the middle of the room. And so one of the things that we lack at Oakwood Square is the small shop retail space. And so with the side street markets that we do every second Saturday in the summertime, all these small little vendors don't have a home. And we get more requests for small shop spaces that they could call home and open up a little permanent shop, permanent location. So we started looking at it and we said, well, you know what, let's clean the house up, see what we have, and make an application to get the property rezoned so a business could occupy the house. So in the meantime, we filled out the application and got that process rolling. And we did start on the parking lot to at least, you know, help alleviate the amphitheater's parking situation. And we're thinking we can get at least a good 60-some cars on this back parking lot behind the house.
60?
Correct. Yeah, 50, 60, we're right around there. The house abuts up to First Commonwealth Bank, which is zoned B2. Also abuts up right up on Oakwood Square Shopping Center, which is B2 as well, to the north. To the east, just 200 feet away, off of Heminger Road, is the township's road department. And then I think there's a private business that has a commercial business in there as well. And believe it or not, I didn't realize this until we dug into it. Literally within a quarter of a mile, there's 6 different zoning districts from this property, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So I think it's a good positive direction that to see the commercial growth being caused by the lack of space at Oakwood Square Shopping Center. And so we are 98% full, and I have letters of intent for the remaining 2%. So I look to be full here come spring again. And, any questions? Happy to answer anything that you may have.
Is there any questions from the board?
I have a couple, Grant. Initially, you're looking or asking for a modification to B2 as opposed to B1, for instance. I don't know if you've seen regional planning's recommendation on this, where they're suggesting a B1 modification.
See, I thought I read it, so they accepted that approval. Did I misread that, John?
They're recommending rezoning the area to a B1 neighborhood business district.
On item 5 under the RPC's recommendation of, I'm just trying to figure out what they did.
Yeah, they didn't really put a, right, B1, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, does the B1 classification accommodate?
We don't know.
I mean, I looked at it, I think it does, but I want
It accommodates restaurants, personal service shops.
in the ancillary parking because they're adjacent anyway, right?
Yes, the parking is covered under the R1 actually.
Right, so,
So for instance, John, I have a cookie shop that is interested.
right.
I have a guy that makes pickles that is interested in it, a lady who does candles, and a pizza shop. So it's a wide variety of small shop spaces.
Sure.
2 of them might take the space together. So, I don't know if it solves that, it's what we don't know, since the neighboring properties are B2. I guess if it solves what I'm looking for on the four that I just mentioned, I guess I wouldn't have a problem with B1.
Just looking at the differences between B1 and B2. B2 certainly adds a number of permitted uses. My guess is that the limitations in the size of this property probably wouldn't allow for most of those B2 uses. I mean, there's something to be said for just going straight B2, because that's what everything else is around there. I mean, B1 would almost be a tiny little spot, but I could go either way.
Ideally, my application was for a B2, and I would ask for a B2. That way I have the most flexibility, because when we bought Oakwood Square, and what we originally intended and where it became, it has morphed to something pretty incredible. And we're getting some really incredible uses and tenants that are coming out there right
No,
now.
let me be, probably not the first, but one of the many that applaud you for what you've done with that center. It's been tremendous, it's a tremendous community asset.
Thank you.
I personally enjoy going there for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a really fabulous job on that.
And it's been a great collaborative effort going back and forth to get
I
to
think
where
so.
it's at.
Yeah, so it's been a good partnership. Relative to title, I know you obtained title work when you bought the property, no doubt, but did you note any restrictive covenants or any conditions or restrictions that might prohibit business or commercial enterprise?
I did not notice that at
Because
all.
I will mention that no matter what the township does,
Mhm.
if you've got a restriction on it, for instance, restricts it to residential,
Right. Then I'm stuck with the parking lot.
then you're stuck with,
Yeah, and that's what my original
Unless you
intent
somehow
was.
get that changed, but,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked to see that.
Yeah.
would not be.
I would be shocked if there were such a restriction, but I've been shocked before too.
Well,
Yeah, well, you're making a big investment, you don't wanna be shocked.
right. Hopefully our attorney reviewed that and did,
Well, that would be David Thomas.
as Dave
And
Thomas.
David Thomas, he has my utmost respect, so,
Yeah.
but I just make mention of that.
I will check on that, Jeff.
I suspect Dave has already assured himself that's not the case.
Yeah,
In Dave's defense, though, when we bought it, we literally had every intention to tear the house down and just make a parking lot.
well, yeah, and in a residential classification, you don't need for ancillary parking, a zone change.
No,
So I think it's worth a 5-minute look.
Sure.
As far as that goes. Other than that, I have some reservation on a B2 change. I would be in favor of a B1 change, but I'm open to the B2, to what other members of the board might weigh in on that.
I'd like to comment on that.
Please do.
Thank you. The Regional Planning Commission, with all due respect, is recommending it to allow a gradual transition and protect adjacent residential neighborhoods. If you look at this map, this is not, if I was gonna color a map that said make a gradual transition, it would be one little teeny tiny black thing like this, right? To me, a gradual transition is, there's several blocks of business, then several blocks of less intrusive businesses, right? That's my view. If that's their only rationale, I don't think it creates a gradual transition. I think it's just a little blob of B1 that adds more variety of zoning areas in this neighborhood where I live. And I think that you're right that it's, when Terry said it's, a lot of those aren't gonna matter anyway, because you're gonna be putting a hospital in this tiny little building. So I have no problem with the B2, just because it seems consistent with the whole plan. of Oakwood Square that you've done such a wonderful job with. And because there's that government, Plant Township building there, right? Isn't that, I mean, isn't there like, so that's, what's, back there and behind this?
On Hindenburg, yeah, that's only 200 feet away from our property, and that is really, truthfully, I think the commercial should go all the way from
Right.
Commonwealth Bank all the way to McDowell Street along Middle Branch, and eventually it may go that way, who knows?
Well, and if you wanted to transition, that would have been B1 in the first place. But they needed B2, I assume, for what they wanted to do there. So, you know what I mean? To me, a transition is gradually a large area, but the B2 has already moved past the line of where you want it to go. I don't know if I'm making any sense at
No,
all,
you're-
without pointing like this. Again, I understand what they're saying, that's probably one of the Regional Planning Commission's duties, is to create gradual transitions, but I don't think this does that. It's just one little teeny tiny piece, and that, to me, that's not a gradual transition. So I would be in favor of B2 just because it matches everything else along there. Except, this B1 neighborhood business here, is that Family Dollar, or Dollar Tree, or whatever?
It's
No.
the dog
That's
park.
Oh, which is now parking,
Right.
okay. So it didn't need to be changed,
I don't know if they changed it or not.
No,
but,
it stayed the
that's
same.
what it
but there was no need to change it.
No.
Okay. So I don't want to disrespect the Regional Planning Commission, but I think their rationale doesn't hold water if that's their only rationale.
The only B2 permitted use that would concern me at all would be number 16, Internet Cafe and Skilled Games. But I don't think this property would be big enough to accommodate
That's
that.
no longer allowed in a B1, B2.
Oh, well.
That's right, we did that last year, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, I need an up-to-date book.
So do I.
Well, I mean, well, we might as well hear any other evidence we've got. And then go to the
Well, is there
motion.
anybody else on the board that has any questions or observations? Okay, I would just say, I understand the rezoning to B1 recommendation and would not be opposed to that, but I'm also not gonna stand in the way of the B2 application, if it votes and there's enough members voting in favor of that as opposed to B1. Is there anyone else here to speak on behalf of the applicant? Well, seeing no one. Let's see.
In opposition. You in
Speaking in
opposition.
Opposition, yeah. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? That's what I thought. Okay.
In which case, Mr. President, I'm going to move adoption of the proposed amendment as submitted to B2.
I'll
Second.
that. Okay, no, you can second it.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll, Mr. Ferrero.
Mr. Randbecker,
Yes.
Mr. Seaberger,
Yes.
Ms. Alder,
Yes.
and Mr. Crawford.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
thank you.
That will be going before the trustees on January the 9th.
Okay. 6 o'clock, I take it? 6 o'clock? Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for bringing the visual aids.
Sure. John, I will check.
Do you need this back?
No, you can have it.
Well, I don't need it.
I can take it back for you. I got a big recycle pile.
Yeah, well, I'm not
Maybe
gonna
to
give
the
it
Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
That's
Good
true.
idea. Yeah. Thank you.
Take the rest of it.
It was asked of me.
All right, we'll move on to the amendment 586-23, Family and Community Services LLC. Is the applicant here for that? Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Matthew Slater, and 454 Palisades Drive, Akron, Ohio.
And your connection to this application is what?
I work for Family Community Services. We are a private nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we run Honor Home here in Plain Township, which is transitional housing for homeless vets. We are the largest provider of this housing in Ohio, and we have housing all throughout northeastern Ohio.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about the project?
So thank you. So Honor Home, we opened this facility in 2020. And as you see, there's actually 3 buildings, 3 different addresses, 3 different plots of land, but it's really a campus feel there. We currently can serve 24 vets there. And we had the opportunity to apply for funding from the Department of Veterans Affairs to renovate and upgrade our facilities. And part of what the VA requires is that you create individual bedrooms with individual bathrooms. And this helps make the building more suitable for the vet population that we're working with, and also more resistant to communicable diseases, which is great. The facility is staffed 24/7. And will continue to be staffed 24/7. We kind of looked at it as, okay, we're currently serving 24 vets here. We're not increasing the density. It's not quite true. We're increasing the density by 1, serving 25 vets in our proposal. But it would really help us with controlling the costs, as opposed to running 3 separate buildings, running 1 building that's connected, where we have all the vets in 1 building, and helping us control our costs with, with the COVID epidemic, the cost of business went way up. We have to figure out ways so we can continue to stay operational. We serve around 80 vets a year. We also have a program that's run out of there that helps vets who have eviction notices or utility disconnects, and make sure that we can help them and provide case management to make sure we avoid that. We are incredibly successful. If you look at these programs across the United States, the success rate is 65%. We're up at 80%. I think last year we were at 100%. The staff there does a tremendous job. We have had no issues with our neighbors. We think we do a good job at being staffed 24/7. There's always eyes in that neighborhood there. And so that is our ask, is to change it from a R2 to an R3. And that kind of starts off, I know there's a lot of moving pieces with this, and our architect's here to answer any technical questions. That will start the process. So we've got $1.2 million from the VA, and we've also got another $400,000 from the Federal Loan Bank. It's going to be about a $2 million project all in. And we want to invest that here in Plain Township and continue serving our vets in Stark County, and making sure they're provided with the opportunity to rebuild their lives. Thank you.
Are you associated with the Honor Court that Stark County Court of Common Pleas operates? I believe you are.
Yeah, we work closely with them, with the Vet Service Commission, with any number of community partners. Yeah, but yeah, we work closely with them.
Was that the last graduation?
Oh, nice.
I'm on the bar committee for Veterans Affairs. I don't think that creates a conflict.
It does not create a conflict.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I thought I'd better bring it up for clarity's sake. Does the other members of the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, John.
First off, I applaud any efforts that are made for any veterans, homeless or otherwise, and so thank you for that service. I made mention on the other application of the need to look at your record title to see if there are any restrictions, covenants, or the like of record that would prohibit you from doing what you'd like to do, irrespective of what the township might do. So I would encourage you to do that. The last question, concern would be In your narrative, you indicate that the third house at 2832 34th Street would be repurposed for administrative office functions. I gotta defer to Tom, but I'm not sure that that would be a permitted use under an R3 classification.
That is an S1, professional offices.
What if it's like a multi-dwelling apartment that has the manager's office in there? Does that need special? Not this one, but if you had a apartment building with, 12 units and then a
Manager's
apartment in there, wouldn't that still be R3?
It would be,
I mean, this isn't a separate
It's not
functioning
a
business,
separate
that's what I'm
building.
wondering.
Yeah, I don't wanna run you into a wall.
Right.
With respect to that particular house, but my assumption or interpretation of this narrative would be that that house would not actually have occupancy, but would be for administrative purposes.
Yeah, it would be part of the program, kind of like you mentioned, a manager's office in an apartment complex.
So there would be occupants at 2832,
There would be staff there,
but not residents.
correct.
Yeah, see, I'm having a difficult time finding how that would fit under the R3.
So you don't have a person that lives there with them full-time,
We have staff there full-time.
but do they live there full-time? They have
The,
other addresses?
the residents live there.
Right.
Not, it's transitional housing.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, but the staff do not.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
different than a residential manager.
What I'm driving at is, yeah, we could look at the R3, and while that might serve you well with respect to the other two, we might be putting ourselves in a position, or Tom in a position, where the R3 does not permit that sort of administrative use in the other property.
yeah, without having a full-time resident there, that makes it an office.
So he would have to have, what classification would permit an administrative office function? Tom, you said S1,
That's one.
and
And there's, everything north of that is really industrial.
yeah, so I'm wondering, I don't, this is an applicant decision, but I'm wondering if you might want to consider looking for an S1 change.
So just for that
On that
building,
piece.
so an R3 for the two and an S1 for the other?
Yes, I think that would really fit the bill for what you're looking to do and proposing. We can't make you change your application. I think we could probably, Terry and Ian are more versed in the procedural things, but I don't know whether it'd be a function of tabling it, or whether it'd be a function of amending it on the floor. I'm not sure, but again, what I don't want you to do is go halfway for you.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, to kind of move things along, if there's any way to amend it from the floor, or the two buildings that we're going to be doing the renovation on, to get that through to R3, and then come back and get.
That, I was gonna say, might be the other option, is you amend your application to take out 2832 34th Street as part of this application process, leave the other two in, and let us proceed with respect to those two. Come back in for an appropriate zoning classification for that parcel.
Yeah, I don't.
Again, I can't tell you what to do.
No.
We can't tell you what to do, but
Yeah.
we're all about trying to make people successful at
Yeah.
what they're doing.
We would be happy if we could make that amendment right now, or are you saying that we need to come back in?
No, I'll defer to Terry and really Ian, more so for their expertise on how the procedure, to my way of thinking, I think you could amend from the floor just to delete from the application any consideration of the 28, 32, 34th Street property, leave it pending with respect to the other two addresses, and let us move ahead with those.
Do you have to have all three done in order to move forward with the grant money?
No, just the two.
Now, the two are on either side of the one we've been talking about, correct?
Correct.
So there's no.
They are?
It's separated by the street.
They
from-
are, I'm sorry.
Separated by Maxine from the other two that are, correct?
Correct.
I was just making sure I understood the map.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take a look? Make sure.
I think that's right.
Here's the change.
So, yeah, these would be the R from R2 to R3, and then we come back for that one.
This is the one for management?
Correct.
So they're not actually gonna be physically connected, they're just gonna be renovated.
We will be renovating and doing an infill building to connect them.
And what about the street there, or is that reading this map wrong?
So,
Do they have to have that redone too?
yeah, we are getting the petition to vacate.
Show me this again, because I had my map upside down.
No problem. So we are connecting, we're doing an infill building between this and this.
So here, right,
Correct.
like that,
Yeah,
Kind of.
Lego Street, yeah.
and then this
Yeah.
is gonna be the second one.
Because currently the street is all,
Right,
there was that one and then that one.
yeah, I saw that in the street, and what is this?
That is, just a single family.
Oh.
Yeah.
But right now, they're all three separate houses with 8 people in them.
Correct.
And what do you think your odds are of getting the okay to move the street?
So we've talked to all the neighbors. I know we have to get 12 signatures. And they seem to have no concern about that street being vacated. In fact, they're happy we're there because we've kind of cut down on people cutting through and driving fast. And there's kids that play there. So I think we've cut down on some of the kind of dangerous traffic that was, was cutting through there when there were just empty buildings.
I've spoken with our road department, and they don't maintain that part of Maxine at all. They don't snow plow it, they don't do anything with it.
So we're gonna just.
So nobody
hopefully
is,
it goes away?
well, if they can get the road vacated, then
As
we'll
opposed to being relocated, it's just get completely vacated.
vacate the
So
thing.
get
and
down
then
to the south there on 33rd Road, 33rd,
Maxine in between 33rd and 34th.
okay,
So to get to 33rd, you have to go on Endro or Morris.
yeah, that shouldn't be that big.
Right.
So if you're
I'm just wondering if they're doing everything in the right order.
If you're not successful in getting that vacated,
Then
what then? Are you dead in your tracks on the project?
So, I don't know if I can speak to that. I know that, right, because there was some conversation of it creates different setbacks. Is that the issue?
There are several issues that need to be dealt with. This was one of the first that they could deal with, changing the zoning. They're also dealing with combining the 3 lots or 2 lots.
2 lots.
And I forget what else.
Yeah, it's part of the road.
Parking.
Road.
The parking, yes. So there's several things they're dealing with, and they need to get this started in order to build.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I do, and good evening. First of all, okay, you have 1.2 million in funding lined up. What's the source again?
It's actually 1.6. We have 1.2 from the VA, and then we have 400,000 from the Federal Home Loan Bank, and then the agency is raising the rest of the money to do that.
And What's the drop dead date to submit the applications for reimbursement?
So, the VA, it's not a hard date, but they would like everything, to be substantially completed by, October 1st of next year.
Okay, so it's short. Maybe, how long have you been at this location with these, 24, up to 24 homeless veterans in residence?
Since 2020 is when we started operating out there.
And Tom, I mean, I do have, was that pursuant to a zoning application of any kind?
There's not been any zoning applications turned in because they needed to make some changes prior to.
Because right now, that's in an R1 and R2 districts, am I correct?
I'm sorry,
The 24 homeless vets are living in an R1
R2.
or R2
R2, yes.
district, so, I mean, I'm just concerned that what is occurring presently technically doesn't even come within either R1 or R2. Am I missing something?
There was an appeal that went in back in,
Or did BZA approve this?
yes,
Okay, all right, I was.
back in '80, I believe.
Yeah, these were originally homes for the developmentally disabled.
Uh-huh.
And so, they were serving 8 per building.
Okay, and when you came in 2020, did you replace an existing operation, or had it been vacant for some time?
We replaced it. They were operating, I think out of one building at that point.
Uh-huh.
And the other buildings had been vacant for maybe a year.
I mean, I'm just simply concerned because, I mean, an R3, assume that you went for an R3, and R3 has permitted uses being single-family dwelling, two-family dwelling, and multi-family dwelling containing no more than 4 dwelling units. I mean, that's a concern for me. Do you have an attorney working with you?
Yeah, we have legal counsel.
They need to, I'm just concerned, I think the attorneys need to get involved.
Are you getting into what fits for you?
You think R3 is not a good fit?
If I could speak to that, what they're doing, a dwelling unit, the definition of a dwelling unit is a living room, a kitchen, everything put together. And what they're doing is putting basically a bedroom and a bathroom for each person that's gonna be there.
Which is
It's not
substantially.
really a dwelling unit.
Okay, so a dwelling unit is defined as one or more rooms providing complete living facilities for one family.
And they're going down, it's more almost congregate living. They're going down to a main
Yeah.
room to eat, and get and gather.
And I'm very sympathetic to what you're doing because I have been for 15 years on the board of the largest homeless shelter in this county, and I'm representing currently in another county an institution identical to yours. But on the other hand, I'm having difficulty.
What classification do you see, Terry, as being?
I don't know. That's, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe,
Group homes are not a new thing.
maybe R4, which could, up to 8 dwelling units, maybe R4, I don't know.
Can you read the definition of a dwelling unit again,
I
please?
will. One or more rooms providing complete living facilities for one family, including equipment for cooking or provision for the same, including room or rooms for living, sleeping, and eating. And that's what the code says. R4 would give you leeway up to 8 dwelling units on a parcel.
Does that imply that each unit would have its own cooking facility though? This would be one unit, because there's only one cooking facility.
I don't have a problem with the units, but the units are for, each unit is for a family. I mean, we can grant either an R3 or an R4 zoning classification. It may be necessary to do a quick BZA, because you're gonna have ultimately, how many folks living there, or is it gonna be just 24?
25.
25. Yeah, single room occupancy.
And 2 kitchens, no? Or just one?
You don't
I
need
think
to-
one, I think there's like a kitchenette, but that's just a few.
I'm not bothered by the number of kitchens.
I'm just thinking about the dwelling unit definition.
I'm almost thinking that maybe an R4 would be better, and then the BZA can give them permission for a couple more folks. And as for the administrative offices, I agree with you, John, although I'm not horrifically bothered by administrative offices. How else is this place gonna run without an administrative office?
Well, yeah, I think it's innocuous, but what I don't wanna do is set them up to hit a buzzsaw, because at some point, someone could pull out, and they'd be right.
Why don't we go with, why don't we consider an R4, which,
What's the S?
this one is
Sorry,
actually
just brought my book.
suburban office district. And,
Is there a definition of group home in this?
Yes.
Another question, on this building is gonna be.
there is. Yeah, okay, here's what a group home is. A residential facility that provides room and board, personal care, and habilitation services in a family setting for at least 9 but no more than 16 persons with developmental disabilities. And the last 3 words might
That
be
doesn't have a
a
problem.
kicker. Well, whatever happens, they need to do it pretty quickly. I'd be in favor of granting an R4 and maybe even, is the R3 being requested for all 3 parcels? I believe it is.
Yes.
Well, there's only 2 parcels, and the 2 that are on North and, are on 34th Street. The one that is going to be the administrative building, did that come with its own plot, or is it added to the next door plot as it originally was?
They're each on their own parcel, but yeah, we're happy.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. Maybe keep it that way, or
Well-
replatting them, I mean,
It may be easier to change it if it's already a separate lot.
Right.
In other words, we're talking about a process. It would be easier if it's.
Yeah, I think what you're hearing is, there's momentum in favor of what you ultimately want to accomplish, but are we getting there through?
I would be willing at this meeting to amend his application, or have him amend his application orally and seek an R4.
But you said R4 is 8, right?
Yeah, well, okay, 8 times 3.
But it's all gonna be one building when they're done.
That is true, but right now, this is for 3 parcels, okay?
Right, no, I understand that. But my question
I know
is,
you have to combine them in order to build, but I think that if you start out with 3/8, that combining them doesn't take away their ability to serve 24
25.
or 25.
Ian, if Maybe we can get out of order if it's okay with the board. Gentlemen would like to weigh in on.
I'd just like to weigh in on it.
Please come up to the podium,
Oh,
please, and
yes,
state
I
your
will.
name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is William Cook. My address is 1804 Pulaski Road in Castle, Pennsylvania. I'm the architect working with these gentlemen on this project.
Welcome to Ohio.
Thank you very much. The intent was to classify it as a congregate living facility under an R3, which is allowable as a conditional use.
Okay.
I just thought I'd throw that out there
No,
because I know there's been a lot of
appreciate you saying
discussion. We did take a look at that.
Yeah, I see congregate living facility is a permitted, conditionally permitted use. Interestingly, it probably is. It also is under an R4. And let's get to the congregate. We could stretch. It's a residential facility to provide for the needs of individuals who are elderly or handicapped. The facility shall consist of residential dwelling units along with common social, recreational, dining, and food preparation areas. And I do believe that probably most of the people that you're serving loosely will come under
90%.
one or the
Not
other
90 to 95.
category. And you have of the trustees, you have one trustee, I think, who's already very supportive of taking care of veterans. You probably have two, well, you probably have three. So if we can get into the right, I would like to have it come in under an R4. And then they can go to the BZA quickly, get variance for the congregate living facility.
Let's, Terry, what procedurally would we have to do or not do
Tonight,
vis-a-vis regional planning?
regional planning is a recommending board
Okay.
only. We are entitled to either follow their recommendations or ignore them in their entirety. David
So-
Farley is a good friend of mine, and he knows that all they.
So what I'm sensing is that probably the most flexible zoning for you would be the R4. R3 would work because it's still a conditional use
Mhm.
under R3 relative to the two parcels.
Right.
And waving a magic wand would be an S1 for that other parcel. So, I would be receptive to having the application amended verbally on the floor, at least relative to the R3 or R4
Mhm.
classification for the two. The S1 from the floor, I'm a little bit less comfortable with because you don't have the benefit of people being notified.
That we're going with an,
S1, yeah.
From our perspective, coming back later for that wouldn't impact our ability to move forward.
I just don't want to get you up against a wall with your Veterans Affairs funding.
Yeah, I appreciate that, yeah, so if we're able to do that, more than happy. It doesn't give me any more anxiety to come back with a S1 later for that piece if that works.
Let me ask this, John, do you feel that we could do an R4 tonight, because that would be like an R3 and not materially different, such as an S1?
I think so, Terry, only because it's a conditionally permitted use under your classification, so.
And then have him, that they can come back, get a quick BZA that includes both congregate living facility with the ability to have an administrative office on site. I think.
Does that work?
Absolutely.
Can you do the administrative office under the R4?
Under the R4, no.
Okay.
Well, how's the BZA give you the ability to have an administrative office?
So I mean,
Well, I'm sorry, then I.
that's what he said, the BZA can do administrative office, but they can't until
No,
that's
I'm not
changed.
aware of that.
No, they would have to change to an S1.
Do you know of any congregate living facility that does not have an administrative office?
Oh, that's true. Every senior living home.
I would assume all of them have.
But that's,
Although they're not usually a separate.
but that's an argument for when they're in front of us looking for an S1.
Okay, is this gonna be,
I'm not-
is this
I'm
gonna
not
be one
comfortable.
building that has the
No.
office at one end, or is it two buildings?
Yeah, so it'll be two buildings, it'll be residential, then we will have an administrative, we'll have staff in both, but again, getting the conditional, change from R2, RB, I think R3 or R4, sounds like that would probably work for us, is that correct? Okay, so that would allow us to move forward with our timeline, and we could come back, the admin office, we could come back next month.
Yeah,
And
why don't we do that? Let's go to R4, then they can move forward on two tracks. One to BZA for congregate living facility, and simultaneously in front of us with an S1 application.
I think that's the best way for them to go. I think it's the most safe way. for them.
Yeah.
And you're talking about all three move forward to an R4? Because that's what I think we should do.
I think we should do all three to an R4 now,
I do.
and then next month, they can come
And do
before
the R4 to
BZA
S1.
and before us and get everything relatively fast tracked.
Okay,
And
So
then you'll
you-
have your approval to show the Veterans Administration, or whoever you need to show, all three of these parcels are moving forward.
Yeah.
So you would have to now amend and modify your application to change your request for modification from an R3 classification to an R4 classification with respect to all three parcels. Which isn't gonna get you where you wanna be for administrative purposes on that third parcel, but you can bring that back in.
Yeah, no, and that's, again, as long as we can move ahead on the residential building,
Right.
creating that into one, so I know there's more steps, I know this doesn't mean, we can just go to construction,
Yeah.
but,
That's your best
yeah,
bet.
that is ultimately what we know this is
But
complicated.
you've gotta make that,
I have to make that request right now, got you. So we would love to see our application amended from a R2 to a R4. Yeah, sorry,
R3.
from an R3 in the application to an R4.
And that
Currently
sounds
being
fine,
R2.
and just to give you some comfort, at the next meeting, I will vote in favor of an S1, so you know you have one vote in favor.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
just for the record,
Yeah.
is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll accept a friendly amendment at this point in time.
So moved.
Well, I'll move to approve the application for modification as amended by the applicant seeking an R4 classification for the three parcels in question.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Now,
This is very cool, by the way.
since-
Yes.
Since no one is here to speak in opposition, John, we should probably move now to approve and recommend to the trustees the R4.
Didn't we just do that?
So we approved the applicant's motion to modify.
Oh, I thought we approved the whole thing based on his
I
motion.
move that we make recommendation to the board of to the trustees that the modification be made to these three parcels to an R4 classification.
Second.
Any opposed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it again. Oh, I moved here too fast for Tom.
Got it.
Scott, you can look at this tape, right?
Pardon?
You can look at the tape.
Yeah, I'll come back to the tape.
And just a quick point, double check with the town how quickly you need to get your application in for the S1. Maybe you need to file it tomorrow, I don't know.
Well, we're gonna have to look at the second week in February,
Okay.
Okay.
but we need to get that started, so give us a call.
Yeah, we'll touch base, absolutely.
That's just a question for she who hasn't been here for a while. We don't have to do a roll call vote on that one?
We did,
No.
didn't we?
It's all, either way is fine.
But I didn't know, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, either way is fine.
Okay,
It was unanimous.
just wondering. Didn't know.
Is there anybody here who would vote against it? Okay,
Just wondering.
We're good.
all right. Well, at this point in time, we can move on to the last and final bit of unfinished business. I'm gonna have amendment 584-23. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Is that for me?
That
Is
would be-
that good? All right. Sorry, I wasn't sure which one I was here for. Number.
This is Tanya Rogers.
Yes,
Hi.
hi.
That's what I
Hi.
guessed.
All right, so, I drafted the proposed legislation. This followed the litigation that was earlier in the year commenced by Ashler Retail. I sent with the proposed legislation a memo, but there was just some indication that there were some questions for me. So I don't know if you want me to go over the memo in general, or if you want to just shoot questions at me. It's really up to you.
You wanna start us off, Terry?
I'd be happy to do that. In the definitions section of what you prepared,
Yes.
okay, section 5 of the definitions, there's a number of references to items. Maybe I missed it. Is items defined anywhere else?
Items?
Yeah.
Let's see here.
If it isn't, we should probably just, I have a feeling I know what you were aiming for.
Okay, we were looking at section 5 of the items. Okay, that's a good catch.
And it's
I think
fine.
we could-
It's true for all of the subsections.
All right, yeah, that's a good one. So for 5, we could probably just reference, we probably have to define it reference one of the earlier definitions. And so I will explain a little bit that this is a little bit of an unusual section of the zoning code in that it has the definitions within itself. And it's kind of its own thing. And the reason for this is because this is one of the areas where there's a unique interplay between speech and zoning. And so the reason I recommended that it be a permitted use rather than a conditionally permitted use is there is a concept called a prior restraint of speech. And so anytime there is a prior restraint of a constitutionally protected right, there has to be objective criteria for evaluating. And so for the conditional use permit, there's a lot of, aspirational concepts in there, harmonious with the neighborhood, won't be detrimental to the area, those kinds of things that don't have objective standards. And federal courts and the United States Supreme Court have consistently struck down those kind of criteria when it comes to expression. And so that is why I recommended that it be just a straight permitted use. Because any type of conditional use permit, it would have to be purely objective criteria, which is what Tom already does. He looks at objective criteria, it either fits or it doesn't. And so adding the extra step of the conditional use permit, we have to develop a whole new scheme for conditional use permit that contains only objective criteria, and it kind of defeats the purpose.
And I don't have any problem
Okay,
with that.
yeah,
The board was pretty much online, okay with leaving the definitions as part of this section.
okay, it was just that, the items itself.
Well, items was the most
Vague.
nebulous term.
Yes, yes.
The other question that I have, I'm not precluding a follow-up question. You have findings and rationale, and
Yes.
I have never, I shouldn't say I've never. I was just,
It is an unusual and it's very clunky. I'm very aware of that.
yeah, and one concern we had, is, we were discussing this at the last meeting, is, there's probably 40 or 50
Yeah.
cases there. I don't have time to
Yes.
read them, and we were hoping that you would represent to us that you have, and that they stand for the proposition
They do,
that you
and
asserted?
so I will tell you that this lengthy list that's over a page long, this is taken verbatim from, there was a case in Georgia and there was a case in Indiana where their zoning schemes were challenged the exact same way. They were both upheld as constitutional. They are identical. And so this is modeled after those. Those are both municipalities, so those were part of licensing schemes, but in both cases, they were upheld.
By whom?
Sorry?
By whom?
The federal courts.
The circuit courts?
Yes, it was not the Sixth Circuit, but different circuit
Right,
courts.
right,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. And this is also the same findings and rationale proposed by the Attorney General in their licensing scheme.
Ohio.
Yes, the Ohio Attorney General. And so it is verbatim, they're the same cases, the same studies that townships and municipalities have relied on throughout the United States for the secondary effects. Because with property, there's the rational basis test. We just have to show that there's a legitimate government interest and this is reasonably related. When it comes to expression, it goes up to intermediate scrutiny. So we have to show that there's a substantial government interest and there's still a way for expression that's narrowly tailored. And so that's why this finding and rationale is in here, is because there has to be a review and consideration of the secondary effects before you can regulate the expression. So yes, we did look through these. We also relied on the review from all these other councils that have used them, as well as the Ohio Attorney General.
Okay, because as part of this findings and rationale, after all of these cases, it says, and the township's independent review, the same, the township finds none.
Yeah.
Four findings are made. I mean, I'm not a social sciences
Right,
a person of any kind. I'm just a country attorney.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's true. I am a
Sound like Matlock.
I'm just a small town country attorney, and we just want to know, or at least I want to know that you're representing that these are accurate findings based on the page, single-spaced before it.
Yes, yes, they are. And there does, I mean, I appreciate you looking into it because there does have to be a legitimate discussion that there are concerns about these secondary effects. And that is the only justification for regulating the expression, unless you want to do your own studies and research.
We do not.
I have a feeling you did not. And so, yes, we have looked at these. The Ohio Attorney General has looked at these, and many other municipalities have looked at these, and it has been found that these are substantial and these are sufficient for reliance to contain and regulate expression.
Do you claim a copyright on this?
Do I claim a copyright? I do not. No.
Just in case I want to use this or a form of it for some other.
Well, no, this is
Political
actually,
subdivisions.
I can't claim credit for this. This is from Brookhaven, Georgia, and Angola, Indiana, and then the Ohio Attorney General. So, yeah, so if you wanted to look at their legislation, it's, yes, Brookhaven, Georgia, and Angola, Indiana.
Once
And
we
then-
have this, I'm not going to look any further.
Yes.
I do represent political subdivisions. who
Yes.
are, asking the same questions that Plain Township is.
Yes. And then when I kind of searched some of these titles, just did a Google search, I found that this same body of work is cited nationwide. I don't know the first entity to do it who actually compiled all of this, but it has been copied for the last 25 years as a means to regulate and to serve as the basis for the substantial government interest in regulating this type of expression.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, another question I had is back to definitions. 3, sexual encounter establishment, and I know that you reference a part of the revised code, same meaning, but I don't see where else, are we regulating those?
No.
Proposing to?
Well, I think that you would want to, because if someone would like to put in a entertainment facility that has expressive dancing, I think that you would want to have it brought under this
This
umbrella.
does not appear to do that. It looks as though what you're doing is giving us a definition that we could use if we want to take that extra step, or am I incorrect?
Well, so, in an effort to make it easier, and again, this is just my recommendation, of course, you're the experts, you've been appointed to review this.
Oh, we're not experts.
For locations, we have that a sexually oriented business is permitted in certain areas. We've defined sexually permitted business to encompass all these other definitions. And so what we could do, just to make it more clear, is just
You
incorporate,
have done that in
yes,
C1.
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm good with that.
okay,
Okay, ignore that, the last couple questions.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna yield to others.
What do you decide to do about items?
Well, that's-
Items.
It's still an open item.
That's an open item, it is. Let's see here, I will have to look through,
We can't just say we can't define it, but we know it when we see it.
yeah, we need to have a better explanation for it, and it will have to tie into
The judge's done.
one of these other many, yeah. What I can do is issue a recommendation to you, I don't know that I can do it from the floor at this very moment. So I don't know how you want to do that.
Percent established community consists of sexually oriented items.
Yeah, I think that we could probably do that, sexually oriented items, that would be a good way to make it easy.
Just a thought.
And that would have to be in 5A, B, C, D, E, it should be for all of them.
Can you just define, can you just put it under C, definitions, and just define items? And then it's just defined throughout those other paragraphs?
Do you want examples or just sexually oriented?
I think if there's, under the definition section, items shall mean, and then
Yeah.
it's just the capital letter I in the sections to which it's referred.
Yeah, so if you look at C1 with the sexually oriented business, it goes to novelty store, adult theater, adult video, sexual device shop, sexual encounter center. We could add 2 to just be items shall mean any sexually oriented or adult items referenced in C1. It is kind of going back and forth.
It could be simple as inventory.
Okay,
You know, inventory of a sexually oriented business,
yeah,
because that's what they're selling, right?
yes,
Or items marketed through a sexually oriented business or within the inventory.
I don't think we have to, I don't think it has to be verbose, it's just,
No, I agree.
that should take care of it.
Sexually oriented inventory? Or am I missing it?
Well, I had blurred out there, inventory of any sexually oriented business, which is already a defined term.
But isn't that what number 5's talking about, the whole inventory, and 35% consists of that? I mean, doesn't the 35% mean 35% of their whole inventory?
Yeah,
So that, to me, that would be confusing.
it would be.
To me, it says they have an inventory and some of it's fine, it might be, what did you say?
here, let me go grab,
You're right.
let me grab my computer real quick, I have the,
I think I'd just add sexually oriented before every time it says items. In number 5, you'd have to add it in 3 places, 4, 6 places.
yeah, I think we could put a sexually oriented or adult themed, that's another buzzword that's used.
Right. Or if you want to do a definition, it could be merchandise with a sexually oriented or adult theme, if you want to do this, and then that would be the definition of items.
So go back to the,
I'd put it right in number 5, but again, I'm not a statute writer, so I don't know.
Yeah, but it would fit there.
Just to hang out with the statute writer. I don't know if anyone rubbed off on me.
Okay, so in the Georgia legislation, well as the Algona one, they narrowed it down to adult bookstore, adult video store. And so they listed the types of inventory of books, magazines, periodical, printed matter, photography, motion pictures, cassettes, discs, digital videos.
But this is broader than that.
I think that that's,
Because it includes sex toys.
yes, and I think that we want to keep it broad.
Yes.
So I like your idea of either adding a definition for items, which would be sexually oriented or adult
Merchandise.
themed merchandise. And then we don't have to, then we can leave it as is. That would be adding probably,
Another definition. Or
So
you could
under-
just change the word items in those, in part 5, every time it appears to sexually oriented or adult themed merchandise. Depends on how many times you want to say it.
I think either of those would be great solutions. Either add a new
Right.
subparagraph under 1, or no, it'd be 1 to add a 3, which would be the definition of items, or under 5, add the term sexually oriented or adult themed items. I think either one would work. So I think that'll be up to you guys, what you think is more user friendly, since you're making a recommendation to the trustees.
You don't want to come back, you don't want this to come back to us, though, ideally, right?
Ideally.
So,
So, I mean,
if we move to approve,
you can't amend it.
no, if we move to approve, subject to and contingent upon the inclusion of a definitional section relating to items.
And that would be with the modifications
Yeah.
approved with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would say approve with modifications, and then you would decide whether you want to add a definition or include those terms in subsection 5. I know we have a lot of attorneys on here, so what do you think would be the most user-friendly, since you guys are going to be the ones interpreting this in the future?
Well, I'll go for this one, and you can argue with me if you want, but as a former writing instructor, anytime you have to go to another section to find out something, you have to mean what something means in this section, it's not user-friendly.
Yeah.
It's easier to just put the language right there, so you don't have to reference
Number
back.
5.
Put it into 5, even if you have to say it 4 times. I just think that's,
Well, I agree.
thanks.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
It's
All right, then.
consistent. As long as it's consistent. it's
Right.
good.
Yeah.
It's the same thing over, and really, when you repeat it that many times, then everybody gets it.
Right.
It's gonna over.
So what are we proposing?
Well, it's my understanding, it's under section 5, quote, substantial portion, end quote, of business activity, or quote, principal business activity, end quote, means A, for example, lowercase a, at least 35% of the establishment displayed merchandise consists of the inventory
No.
sexually oriented or adult themed merchandise,
Comma,
And then the next one, sexually oriented or adult themed merchandise. So any word, I mean, if you were on a Word doc, you just do control find items and replace with sexually oriented or adult themed merchandise.
Okay.
I think that's a great solution.
I would add comma, and items included within Ohio Revised Code, section 2907, 40, A1, and A3.
They're listed in there?
There's a bunch of stuff listed in there.
Yeah,
It's all, I mean, basically, A1 and A3 include about every kind of porno that you can imagine.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the General Assembly with all their attorneys and.
So
Right.
you're gonna repeat that throughout?
We can, or we can have a master definition, but I mean, A1, 290740, A1 and A3 contain
have a list.
good definitions for, books, recordings, magazines,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
it's very thorough, and I did reference the revised code, and I know that it's not as friendly to read, but it is more comprehensive,
That's true.
so there can be no allegation, like there was in Ashford Retail, that it was vague. and not clear and not easily enforceable.
You know, my suggestion was the simple language, but if we're gonna have more complicated.
You have used 2907.40 in 4A, which I think is appropriate,
Yeah.
so.
So if we're gonna tie in the statute, which is not a bad idea, because then it's very thorough, it's a statute that's already upheld by the General Assembly,
I agree.
and then there's no ambiguity whatsoever as to what we're referencing. In that case, it may be easier to add a new subparagraph, of items. It could be 6,
You know what?
it could be whatever, I don't think it matters what number it is, but it could be items, and the definition could be sexually oriented or adult themed merchandise, or I didn't write down the language that you said.
Including but not limited to.
Including but not limited to items included within Ohio Revised Code, section 290740, A1, A3, and A12.
I would say items named, listed.
That's fine.
Oh, sorry, I'm a word.
That's fine. But A1, A3, and A12 are a laundry list of all the stuff that I think that we're trying to target.
Yeah.
So is that the language that we'd like to use?
Well, what we're talking about is a move to approve the modification being to include a definition
Yes.
of items, and the definition of items would be as was announced, which would be sexually oriented adult themed items, including without limitation those items listed, set forth wherever under those revised code sections.
Right, and it's 290740, A1, A3, and A12.
And that's the motion I'm making.
And then you mentioned just
Okay, right.
earlier, you said then we would capitalize the word items?
Yeah, once you define it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Just,
All right,
and again,
so-
that's just a,
So where is the definition gonna be, in section 5, or you're gonna drop down and make it section 6?
it's gonna have to be a new subsection under C. So what, I don't know where you wanna put it, I don't think it matters.
Well, we could capitalize items
Yeah,
and make,
Number 4?
and in your definition, where is your, and then make your definition, maybe we can make, this is
Number 4 makes
4C, let's make it 4C.
Or C?
Yeah, items
okay.
as used in this section.
is used, and I'm gonna write this down for you, Tom.
Here, before you write it
So it's just
down,
gonna be C right there.
I don't like us using this section because it seems to limit it to, or is that just one section, this whole thing?
This one section's this one.
Oh, okay, then, never mind.
Use,
Isn't it?
yes.
use adult,
New section, 723.
okay, what was the first part here, you said?
Section.
Adult,
Sexually, same language here, sexually oriented or adult.
Themed merchandise.
sexually oriented, or adult
Themed.
Merchandise.
merchandise, including without limitation, all, I don't wanna use the word items again, all, give me another word.
Examples?
You know, item, just small case there.
Including
use
without
items again.
limitation,
Those listed?
those, thank you.
It's good to have a writing teacher here.
It's been a while since I've taught writing.
At the university,
I taught it at Creighton Law School, and I taught ninth grade English grammar when I taught high school.
Creighton, you were at Creighton?
That's where I went to school, and then I taught there, for 4 years.
Oh, you didn't go to Nebraska?
I did not. I went to Nebraska for undergrad
Okay, well, that's.
and for my master's.
All right, I still like you.
You still like me? I'm still a Cornhusker, I'm just a Blue Jay too.
Yeah, well, we can get over that.
Okay, well, Terry's working on that.
Okay, I have it here.
Okay,
Okay. 4C, items as used in this section.
where it says
It
that.
says that at the top.
Oh, okay, got it, okay. Items, well, items capitalized. Sexually oriented or adult-themed merchandise, including without limitation, those listed within Ohio Revised Code, section 290740, A1, A3, and A12. And if I ever grow up to be an adult, I'd be able to buy this stuff?
No, not Plain Township.
Well, we could buy it in Plain Township, we'd have to go to an industrial zone to do it. Okay,
All right, so that's in section 5, there's 5 different items that need to be capitalized.
yep, yep.
What else have we, what else? have we-
Actually, there's 7, A, B, C, D, no, yeah,
They don't have the words items in them.
yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah, they do, the next page.
All the way to G.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, D has 2, uses the term twice.
yeah,
I see.
that's fine, we just capitalize them, we're good.
Yeah, E uses it twice.
But G doesn't. Oh, yes it
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Guys, I got scavenger hunt.
Where is set forth? Global.
Huh?
Global.
Yeah, all right.
All right, do you have any other questions?
Did we? I don't have any other questions, but Tom, we made a few changes last week before we ran into that roadblock. We still have those, or are we gonna have to rely on?
I think there are a few red out there.
We have the reds from,
The reds from,
yeah.
RPC.
I think we made it down to items and then sort of got bogged down.
We made it down to the 3rd page. Why spelled out here and not here, between 3 and 4. Do you have a copy of that?
Of the, I don't know.
I don't have my packet, I don't have my rough notes, but my big concerns were sexual encounter establishments. That's been answered to my satisfaction. And items, and I think in terms of D, locations, I mean, you're confident that D has constitutional muster?
Okay, so with regard to the question of why spelled out in 3 and not 4, 3 I think is just to make it as clear as possible, and then 4 is more of a catch-all.
And so these would, this new section would, well, 722, section 722 will add unconditionally permitted uses in the I-1 and I-2 zones, which I think is fine. Well, 721 and 722 will do that. Okay, yeah, both of those will refer to section 723. I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
I do not either.
All right.
I think that-
Well, if you do have any more questions, of course, you know how to get a hold of me.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Sit down for 2 more minutes until we approve this.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
I don't want her to run out and leave.
One more thing.
Yeah, right. I sat down to Tom.
Definition of item.
And Mr. President, would you entertain a motion?
I would entertain a friendly motion at this point in the evening.
My motion would be to approve the new section 721, 722, and 723 as drafted, incorporating the minimal changes from RPC being changing city to township, and a couple of other, there are changes on the definitions I don't think are needed. So my motion would be to pass 721, 722, and 723 is submitted with the definition of items added and making clear that this is a township and not a municipal regulation.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I think this is a good addition to our code, and certainly, I may be plagiarizing it in the near future. Sorry.
It's on the record.
I was gonna say, just submitted it on the record.
I may be borrowing.
There you go.
All right, does anyone else have any commentary before we take a vote? Seeing none, I would accept the motion to, the motion's already been made. Do you have a second?
Seconded, that's seconded.
Okay, then all those in favor,
Aye.
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 opposed say nay. The ayes have it, motion passes. Let's see here. That cheat sheet. I think that takes care of all the business for today. There's no meeting in schedule for January.
Right.
We'll go in February in all likelihood.
Looks like February we'll probably have one.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about getting tonight closed
They'll have
out.
to be organizational as well.
I just want them to have the time to
Right.
keep the
The February meeting will be, yeah.
All right, in that case, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Seconded.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion closed. Thank you all for staying around and enjoying the sideshow.
I'm on. Yep. Yeah, it's, they're a lot of records, Garrett, and then for certain
yeah.
things. They don't show us, right?
Yeah.
For a zoning issue, we represented them.
Yeah, you guys
And
actually
then
looked at where you got.
redrafted the
before you built
legislation, or
your building.
redrafted the zoning
We looked
code
at your old building
to
to see
fix
if
the
we
top
could use
of
it.
it.
Yeah, it would have been expensive.
Yeah, there was some.
And you're representing
issues.
Tom.
Okay.
Yes.
Community one.
Yeah. Oh, no. Right. Like, those are very friendly.
Ted Lasso?
No, I'm
a big fan.
Best of luck. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you.
They
John?
sued.
I'll
for
call you with the
waiving
name.
regulations.
I'll check with her, but I'll
Like,
call you.
Okay, good.
and they were right.
Good.
We settled, and now we're redrafting.
Yeah, she
So,
lives in that,
yeah.
Ian, I'll say goodnight.
Thank you, John.
But we approved the ones over by.
I'm sorry. We're very.
Yeah.
She was there. They're really nice.
Thanks for coming
Yeah.
over.
That's my first meeting. We approved
And
they're beautiful. They're really nice.
Exactly.
Well, I checked out the one to
Yes,
say
you're not thorough, it's when-
Yeah.
rules of
Yeah,
order,
take
but
that.
years ago too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys to
Yeah, those are peaceful.
Yes, yeah.
I would go to one of those.
No, and I appreciate it.
So I was pleased.
Rereading
I gotta
the-
tell
I haven't actually
you, just
signed
finding
you
out, all of that stuff
And
is
then
listed out in the
city
ORC was
township,
worth my time.
and private.